thumbnail of what you thought about last night.
Well, I thought there was a lot of back and forth between the candidates that was more about gotcha than the substance. There were a few moments where they really got into a conversation about the details of health care. Honestly, I'm so biased. I felt like they're 70 miles away from my hometown. They want to talk about income inequality, about racial injustice, about the need for infrastructure investment. And Flint gets basically a drive-by. I would have preferred to hear a little bit more about how we're going to prevent another community from going through what my hometown has gone through.
What do you suppose then? Do you hope tonight's different, or does it need to be the same to keep it fair for all the candidates?
Well, I'm sure they'll probably have the structure the same, but it was sort of organic in a sense that what the candidates have said about one another, in this configuration will be different than what we saw last night. Plus, we don't know what direction the candidates themselves will take it.
Yeah.
But it's an opportunity, and I'm not endorsing anyone in this race, partly because I feel like my obligation is to make sure that Michigan is front and center, and no matter who the candidate is, they're going to be hearing from me, throughout this whole thing, that you better be thinking about the challenges that we face in this state if you expect to win in this state in November.
And you don't know who that is yet, who the best friend for Michigan will be yet.
I mean, right now I'd be taking a 1 in 20 shot. And my view is that any one of them is more qualified for the office than the current occupant.
Well, let me ask you about this then, because I thought the healthcare debate was fascinating in that a lot of times party debates, we're talking about degrees of difference between candidates. There's a wide difference between what we're talking about when it comes to health care.
Yeah.
What do you want to see?
I think what I'm looking for is someone who can carve a path that gets to the point where all Americans have health care. And I'm open to any train that can leave the station that will get us there. That's a value that I think we do share, and we heard that last night. They argued over the form and structure and the cost of it, but my view would be we ought to all say, look, let's agree on one thing. We're going to do everything we can to make sure we fill in the gaps right now that keep people from having health care services when they need them. And then we can have a public policy debate through the normal process as to how we get there. Right now, as an American value, that's not a shared value. There are folks who are trying to walk away from that. And it's one thing that does distinguish the entire cast on tonight and last night's stage from the current president, and that's where I wish the focus would be.
Lastly, the exchange between Elizabeth Warren and John Delaney, I thought really framed a really interesting conundrum for Democrats. She's saying, we've got to have big ideas, and he's saying, we got to get elected.
Yeah.
So the fight for kind of the soul of the party and where the center of the party should be is fascinating to me right now, and I'm wondering what you think is more important.
I think it's, this is, I'm not trying to dodge the question except to say, I think we have to figure out how to have big goals and a practical road to take us there. And I think what John Delaney is trying to do is to say, look, we can't just fall in love with noble defeat. We can't just say we want these big things, we don't have any idea how we're going to get there. And I think what Senator Warren, and to a certain extent Senator Sanders and others are saying is, let's make sure that we're not accepting the fact that because it's going to be hard, that we're going to decrease the target, we're going to lower our goals. There's some truth that lies between those two positions. Hopefully that's what emerges from this process.